We are back on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk 1180, 1230 KGEO, 1410 KERI, and now in New Mexico on 1000 KKIM.
We should have recorded the break is what we should have recorded.
I know. Our guest by phone, our guest in person, Gene Fuller, State Senator. It's going to be a long year.
Well,
now, Gene, I have to warn you about something. Clay was gone most of December, so he's a little testy, so I
I'm going to add to his fire here a little bit by saying, here's the things you may not hear about that it's Republicans' job and those who are conservatives to bring up. Otherwise, they won't get brought up. And that is pension reform. It's still a big problem out there.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't fixed that. They're saying that in the swearing-in speeches, they're saying, pension reform is everything's good. The overspending. We really haven't increased jobs by reducing regulation in particular, which is a cheap, easy thing to do that we're not doing. And our unemployment is still unacceptable, which is a measure of our state's productivity. So we have to find better ways to get our message out to people about what that productivity could be. And the easiest way is look at other states and look at their rankings. So, for example, do you know what Californians' median salary is compared to the other states?
No. I have no idea.
It's 17th. Our median salary is $43,000, and Connecticut's, for example, is $57,000. In 2006, we were like 7th, and now we're like 17th and falling. Okay, why is that? Because the money in the state is leaving, and when money in the state leaves, jobs go down and people's salaries go down.
That would be an interesting number, too, if you contrasted it with the cost of living in the state, because the cost of living in California is probably one of the top 4 or 5.
That's a very good point.
So, yeah, contrasting those two would be an interesting
You know what drives our average salary up, of course, is the salaries paid to the legislators. Seriously, I mean, the salaries for the federal legislators start at $174 and go up.
Well, they just got a raise, too.
Well, they took that back.
No, Obama did by executive order.
The legislator took it back themselves with this.
No, but Obama gave an executive order after they took it back.
Yeah.
So they did get it, of course.
This is like 2 or 3 days ago.
Not to mention all the freebies that are associated with that. Now, I don't know how the state...
That's true. But what I want to do is improve the climate for private business so that begins driving up the median salaries. And that's what works.
I agree, Gene.
Well,
I totally agree.
I wish you could improve the climate, but... looking at our legislator and all the rules and regulations they currently have, I don't know how you're going to do it as one person up there.
Okay, I went back to, you have to do local issues first, which is the most important thing for my 4 counties, and we've been very successful working with local issues. Regional issues next, okay, and that's like water. That's not a party issue. That is a regional issue. And things that the general public, if you can get your message out, when you put transparency on it, they will respond. Like most people know that they want to continue to have class size lowered. They don't want it any higher. And they certainly don't want it any higher just so they can give the money to some special targeted people. And in our area, that's likely to go to L.A. or San Francisco.
You are blessed to have Kern County as one of your counties, let me tell you.
All 4 of my counties are very good. Tulare, Inyo, and San Bernardino, they're all counties that have good common sense.
Well, and common sense is a good term because it's insane when you look at the money we're spending versus what we're taking in, and it's getting worse. It's not getting any better. You look at these guys in Sacramento and in Washington, and it's like, do they not see it, or are they just so beholden to special interests that they're just going to continue to do this?
Well, and I think that the first 6 months will be a love fest. They're very excited about the supermajority, and everything's great, but it's just going to be a different group of Democrats that fight with each other over the money. Already, Kevin De Leon put a bill across the desk on the day of swearing in that would have taken 25% of the governor's Prop 39 money and given it to schools. Only it wasn't really going to school classrooms. It was going to energy efficiency in buildings. And so here's the governor. The Prop 39 money fell, 25% short already. And now here's someone else in his party already trying to steal some of the money for something different instead of plugging the hole in general fund. So you never can forget that the groups just keep changing. I may not have the power to bring in a big raise or change or defeat high-speed rail all by myself. That's true. But at the end of the day, there are going to be groups fighting over that money for their different areas. And that's the nature of politics.
Wasn't Prop 30 a school proposition as well?
Prop 30 was increasing the tax. This was 39, the single sales tax factor that was a way to to change the way you had out-of-state companies had to pay taxes and bring in more money. It was supposed to bring in about $1 billion, but to plug the general whole fund, but it didn't quite do it.
So what was the proposition regarding the schools to help the kids? To help?
38, I think it was.
Yeah, well, and 30 was sold that way, but there was nothing in the bill that actually said the money had to go to the schools.
Oh, I see. I thought it was for schools, and then 70% of it's going to teachers' pensions.
I hate to tell you this, but they lied to us. I know that's hard to believe, Clay.
A legislator?
No, not our legislators. Our guest in studio, before she socks Clay, is State Senator Jean Fuller.
I'm gonna do worse than death for him. I'm gonna have him sit right next to me for the last 2 months of session because I probably wouldn't do that to a friend because it will drive you to insanity or heart attack.
Actually, last year you were gracious enough to do that, and Clay and I sat there and listened to it for an afternoon, and one afternoon a year is about all I could take.
Well, I think we should give Clay at least a week.
Oh yeah.
This year's sentence.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe I can get unemployment while I'm up there.
If you changed your parties, you might.
No, what? Yeah. Since you're involved in the local issues, and we've had a major change in the county government, how do you see that benefiting the county of Kern as well as the state, as well as yourself as a legislator?
In terms of the state's policy are definitely not going to benefit the county. The county is going to have continued more prisoners that they have no place to put, that they don't have enough money to house, and that they ultimately have to release. And I think Kern County's crime rate went up like 15% since this new program came.
Wow!
But the politics on the local supervisors board, if that's what you're meaning, that'll be very interesting, and some of the new school board members. I'm very excited, for example, about Mick Gleason. I think he ran the base fiscally for quite a long time, and is just got good common sense, and I think that'll be a great addition to the board.
Well, you swore him in on Thursday, so it'll be interesting to watch what
Thursday,
happens.
I will.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then David Couch, I understand, just got Mark Salvaggio on his team.
Yes, I've heard rumors. I haven't had it validated yet.
So it's really interesting when you see the dynamics of that new supervisor board.
Absolutely.
So
now we've got about 2.5 minutes left, and we did promise you could talk a little bit about camp.
Okay.
So tell us about camp.
Well, basically, for example, I'll be talking to industry leaders around the state, but particularly in my 4 counties, about what is the one benchmark that their industry could do that would make the most difference, bringing in more money from like sales to other states or other countries, and what's the one thing that we could do. And we already know that reducing the timeline for CEQA, for example, to a specified thing, a specified time limit would be one of those things. But let's talk about some things that are much easier, like local permits. If we got 50 more local permits in Kern County, for example, how many more jobs would that be? And how much more would that improve the gross domestic product?
Kern County is doing extremely well as far as increasing in business, I understand, and building permits and other things like that.
Yes, we are. But we could do much better. And if we could do much better, then we would, but because regulation was reduced on one or two specific areas, or because the government got out of the way and actually stamped one of those permits that has been pending for 5 years, then at that point, that would help the whole economy, and there would be more revenue coming in on the natural.
You said the term CEQA a couple of times. What does that specifically mean?
CEQA is the review process. If you want to develop anything, what you have to go through, it's a long process you have to go through to prove that there's no harm to endangered species or homes or air or different qualities. And the problem is the frequency of which those are required, and that there's no date or timeline ending date specified.
In California, I'm beginning to think conservatives are an endangered species.
Yes.
Well, Gene, based on what's been happening as far as elections and in state and the federal government, I am definitely going to keep you on the top of my prayer chain.
I really do appreciate that. Actually, that is what will save the world. And that is, when you get up on the last day after this was a very demoralizing time for me. When you get up on the last day, you realize that you need your friends and you need your God and your country, because our history hasn't always come easily that we've kept freedom, and it hasn't always come easily that we've done a good job with governing. But that's what makes a difference.
Maybe if we put God back in schools, we'd have less problems.
If we put God back in our hearts everywhere, it would.
Gene, thank you so much for the time, and we really, really appreciate having you in Sacramento.
Thank you, and I appreciate getting to be with you today. And it's great to be in the home office this week.
We'll see you in 167 hours on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk, 1180.